So Dr. Rampez here using my latest device, which is called the PyraEyes, and I'm going to tell you more about it. This is where we do Light journeys, and I do all sorts of experiments with the PyraLight and LEDs and all sorts of stuff. Now the PyraLight, I'll show you upside down. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. Yeah, there you go. The PyraLight, it means the pulsed infrared magnetic induction device. So it's not PEMF, it's quite different. It forms a toroidal energy field, which is impulsed, and the strongest component is in the Z-pole, which is the hyperboloid of the torus. And there's a lot of esoteric ether science behind that. But I was, again, this is a download in 2015, where I was experimenting with LEDs for transcranial simulation. And I was told, go and put your coil on the LEDs. Like, what? But anyway, I went and did it, and I could really feel it. Now, here I'm measuring the number of microteslas generated by this device, and you'll see it's around 2 microteslas, which is really strong. Let me just take it off, and you can see. So I'm superpulsing 3 frequencies: 650 nanometer red, 550 green, and 400 violet. Now the 400 is close to 380 nanometer biophoton frequency, but it's the best frequency for absorbing information into the body, interestingly enough. And so Rampa has her eyes closed, and this creates both eidetic and entoptic visions. And again, another time I'll tell you more about that, but those are the visuals that you get. You get them very strongly under the Ashna light, because that's directly working with melanopsin. But green LED, green light, for example, has recently been shown to generate neurochemicals, and if you're interested in neurology and brain physiology, it's something we can go into more. My original version was this. These are the PyraLight glasses, and I did them to give people a way of experiencing as a consumer. In other words, this is just you plug in and go. It's dead simple. There's no learning about controlling settings on the app or anything like that. It's just you use it on your body. It's for the body as much as you feel is harmonious, and it literally charges you up. Here's what to my mind is one of the most important things, and this is the same superpulsing going on the nasal laser. So the Russians invented this laser. It's a class 1 laser, 650 nanometers. And 650 nanometers, it activates cytochrome C oxidase, which is in the proton pump. It's the water wheel molecule, basically, in the mitochondria. 60% of our energy comes from that. And I use 650 nanometers here. I'm using 850 nanometers, and those are the 2 peaks of the response. So when you plug this in the morning, before you get up, into the nasal capillaries, the blood passes there very close to the surface, and literally, a couple of things you see. Any coagulated red blood cells are separated, and secondly, the energy level is increased quite dramatically, actually. And also, as a laser, it goes into the thalamus in the brain and upregulates that. Now, the three frequencies I want to talk about, because they're really important, is for the three dantians. So, low dantian, otherwise known as the hara, is I'm pulsing at 2 Hertz, and that's like the heartbeat of the whole thing. That's the low frequency. For the heart, middle dantian, I'm using Schumann 8 Hertz, and then for the brain, I'm using 40 Hertz gamma. So 40 Hertz happens when the hemispheres of the brain integrate, and there's a pulse from the thalamus to the cortex at 40 Hertz, and that shows integration. So the action light, we've done studies with quantum EEG, and that shows that it rapidly brings people into that gamma state, and that's why it's so effective. That takes them on their light journey. And so these being pulsed together, super pulsed, it's informing the whole system. And this, as I showed you, this is, yeah, 2 microtesla. The original pad I did was less than 2. It was like 1.5 microtesla. If I get this on the maximum alignment, yeah, there you go. So it's about 5 microtesla on the new pad, and that I'm using. It's a special. Well, I've modified the antenna, and it turns out that the antenna is based. I use a. Well, I won't go into the technical details. You can ask me if you want, but I found out a couple of years later that Tesla had patented a very basic form of that called a bifilar coil in 1897. I've used the green frequencies, but they have a very interesting physiological effect, including helping reduce pain. So this is, as I said, extremely strong, and a good way to see the effect is the intensity control. So you see when I turn it up, it's very, very bright. So here's the very, very first prototypes. I have a custom pad, and a mask, shall I say. Let me just turn it around. These are Lakowski coils that are 5 fractal in their diameter. So Georges Lakowski was really famous in France in the 1920s and 30s for healing people with cancer and everything. And he used this form of coil design. One thing I'd like to show you is, let's go back to here. So the background radiation is in the low 50s. So it's just the magnetic field in the background. That's the Earth's magnetic field. But the glasses, even though they're really effective, and I've got a little magnetic pad there, you can see it's maybe adding, I don't know, 5 nanoteslas. But this thing is 2,000 nanotesla units, 2 microteslas. So that's super strong. And now, I think, one other thing I want to talk about is what I use this battery for. So I was flying a lot before 2019, and I would always fly with the PyraLight on a battery behind my back, and I literally got 0 jet lag. So one example was I flew from Chiang Mai, it's like 35 hours total, 27 hours of flying, to Buenos Aires, and when I got out of the plane I was tired, but I had no jet lag, my sleep was normal. Other examples, I fly to California, Conscious Living and New Living Expo up in San Mateo a couple of times, and I'd just get off the plane Thursday, go and set up my booth, work on the booth full day, 3 days, and fly back on Sunday. And again, no jet lag. I was able to function fine. So the reason that's happening is because the body is being continually synchronized in the plane. And nowadays we've got a lot of ionizing radiation. It's like 100 times more than 20 years ago because of the way the plasma from the sun has changed. And so if any of you fly, I'd highly recommend doing this. And it really preserves the body in synchrony as you're flying. So now we'll talk to Dr. Rempa. Hello, Dr. Rempa.
Hello.
How are you feeling? You've been on the PyraEyes for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes now?
Yes. First, I lie down and I feel tired. And this time, I saw cross.
Oh, you saw a cross, right?
Yes.
Again, yeah.
But I saw color is first is red and orange.
Ah, okay.
And after that, I saw green and black.
Okay, so often chakra colors come up in these entoptic visions. So obviously, you know, Muladhara and Swadhisthana,
Yeah.
first and second. And then the black is the void, you know, it's Nibbana in Pali, which is where you go for a rest, basically, after you've achieved enlightenment on the Buddhist path. And then the green is the heart. So everything's integrated in the heart. And so how do you feel now? Do you feel more rested?
And yes, after that, I feel fall asleep.
Okay, you fell
I
asleep.
feel like long time. I feel like maybe 1 hour or like this. I feel like I take a rest.
So one of the things I've noticed, I noticed it for myself first with the PyraLight glasses, but it's definitely affecting the temporal lobe. So when I was with Dennis McKenna, we had a peyote ceremony at Tyringham, and I literally, my time dilation was a factor of 100. I thought I'd been trying to do my practice because my brain wasn't working anymore for about an hour, and I'd only done like 5 minutes. So the temporal lobe, right here on the side of the brain, is affected, and that's our conceptual understanding of time. So when that's expanded, the body can deeply rest. And sometimes it goes in the other direction. The other thing I'd like to comment on is the cross, because Rampa's seen that twice. So, you know, the cross is the symbol of many major religions, and it's actually dielectric plane and the hyperboloid of the toroid, which is the electromagnetic structure of nature. It's what we have around the planet. You know, the magnetic pole of the planet is that hyperboloid. You know, the South Pole, ether charge is going out, and the South Pole has a dimple on it. It's got a dimple on it, and the North Pole, it comes back in, so it goes round, and then the toroid is around it. So to have that symbolism, to me, when you're in that magnetic field, is very interesting, because it's come up a couple of times. So, yeah.
And for the physical, I feel I have the energy run to my arms, my finger.
Ah, okay. Does it go to all the fingers?
Yes, all.
So that means...
Shoulder to arm and fingers, both.
Okay, so that means all 12 meridians are being activated by this energy. So you've used the PyraEyes now maybe 8 or 10 times?
Yes.
Yeah. and I think you like it.
I love it, and the first and the until now is the same. First is I feel strong, and after that I feel relaxed for sleep, and about 5 minutes left, I feel like I recharge. I'm
very
fresh.
Good. And you started this just before I started videoing, so it's been less than 20 minutes.
Oh,
so
I think for sleep only 1 hour.
Well, thank you very much for talking about your experience, Dr. Rempa.
Thank you.
Okay.